What's going on, guys? George here. So today we're going to be working on Tux E46, and we're going to be replacing a coil pack and spark plug because he's misfiring in cylinder 3. So you're going to need a few basic tools: the flathead, a Torx bit for the cabin air filter assembly. I mean, you don't really need to take it off. I forget what Torx it is, but then you just need a 10 mil for each coil pack, 10 mil for the valve cover, well, the beauty cover, and then spark plug socket. Alright. So start up here by taking the cables out of here. So you can either pull this up, but these tabs usually break, so I just pull this cover off and then pull the wires out. It's much easier. So then there's 3 spring clips for the cabin air box. It just pulls right out. Might need a new filter. Jeez. So then there's 4 Torx holding in the cabin air filter draining assembly. Just pull those out. And now they stay in there when you pull them out, so no need to worry about losing them. And the last one. Alright, so after those 4 bolts are out, this just lifts right out of there. Alright, so the next step would be to take off the beauty cover. So you grab your flathead, there's these little tabs right here, just release like that. And then these 2 nuts are 10 mil. So this extension's a little overkill, but I mean, that's okay. Loosen those, and I'll just spin them off by hand. And you can just leave them in there. Alright, so then the next step would be to take the oil cap off. Whoops. And then beauty cover just lifts off like that, and then that exposes all the coils. So the coil we're replacing is cylinder 3, cylinder 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 1 and 6 have a ground strap on the coil, so if you take those off, make sure you put that back on. So you just grab your flathead, pull up on these release clips, and then the plug will just come right out of the rear like that. And you can't really get these mixed up because they only extend like a certain length, you know, so no sense in worrying about that. Just toss the oil cap back on. So now we'll be taking the 10 mil bolts out of the ignition coil. Loosen those. So normally to troubleshoot a bad coil, you can just take like a coil that you know is good and swap it into that cylinder, and if it misfires, you know it could be a spark plug related issue, but if it doesn't misfire, you know it's definitely a coil related issue. So these boots are in pretty good shape, but it looks like there's a short or something somewhere in here. So that's why it's getting replaced. So to pull these off, just twist, break it, and then they pull right out. And that'll just clip into your new coil, as you can see there. Alright, so now, since we have a spark plug, we'll toss that in as well. So now we'll use a 5/8 spark plug socket, and this one should have a magnet in it. makes it easier. So now, after that's broken free, you can just spin it off by hand. Alright. So, as you can see, these are the NGK plugs, the 4-prong, like the Platinums. Now, these are probably, I don't know how many miles, but they're no signs of any oil, no carbon on them. They just look like a normally worn plug because it's brown. So you could probably replace all of them, but just for the video, we're just going to replace a single one. So now these plugs are already pre-gapped. The gap's non-adjustable. So now we'll put this back in there. And then make sure you hand tighten it at first so you don't strip out the threads. And now we'll just snug it down in there, not too tight. Alright, so now that that's in, the next step would be to put the boot onto the coil pack. So now you just take this. Normally you could probably, so on this end you could put some dielectric grease. I don't think you would need it on this end. So you just put that in. Make sure it clicks. There we go. And now this will just drop right back down into the cylinder hole. So now these little grooves that are lining up, and you don't have to worry about pushing all the way down because once you put the 10mm bolts back in, it'll hold everything down. So now I'll hand thread these as well. Grab the 10mm. Now I believe you are supposed to torque these to 11 foot-pounds, but I usually just snug them up and it's just as good. Check all of them. There we go. Alright. So now it would be the same process for each coil, but on 1 and 6, like I said, there's a ground strap right here and back here. So now you'll lift this clip up, find the grooves. Now that pushes in and then this clamps down on it and pulls it in probably another few millimeters. So now that coil is all set. We'll remove the oil cap to put the beauty cover back on. Now the beauty cover's on. You want to make sure you start these by hand. Now grab your 10mm socket and snug these down. You don't need a ratchet to do that. I would just do it by hand. So now, unlike the coil cover, this is the fuel rail cover and injector cover. So now these are studs that come out of the cylinder head. On these it's actually 2 10mm bolts. So now we'll put the beauty pieces back on. They just clip in like that. And then the final step be to put the cabin air filter box back in. So now make sure that this goes above that. we'll just thread these in real quick. So as you can see, no specialty tools are really needed except the Torx. It's pretty basic hand tools. You can probably pull the motor on this car with just a 10 mil and a 13 mil socket. Oops. And the last one. Snug those up. So now take the filter, which does need to be replaced, but we have one of those ordered. So now this just slides down like that. There's a groove in the front and tracks on the sides here. So now with the cover, it slides up underneath the seal but on top of this plastic. So it just slides in like that, and these push down and twist, push down, twist, push down, twist. So now this is the power cable from the engine. This goes in the further little, there's like these little cutouts that it clips into. So you just clip that back in, and then the coil harness clips in like that, and then start from the rear. Clip that in, clip that in, clip that in, and that's how you replace the coils on a E46 chassis. It's the same for the E39. This happens to be an M52 TU motor, but it's the same process for an M54 as well. So thanks for watching, and make sure to like and subscribe.